What's going on, people? Welcome to another Toronto. Oh, no, this is not Toronto Hoop Talk. That's my other channel. This is In Motion Football. Welcome to another In Motion Football live stream. My name is Alam, and today we have the second last series or second last iteration of the Offseason Preview Series. We're looking at the Raiders, the Jets, and the Titans today. We're looking at three teams that I think they have a pretty clean slate. Like, they're starting from the ground up. Not to say they all have nothing going on. I mean, they have their pieces here and there, but I think for one reason or another, all these teams have are at a bit of a reset point, and they're going to have a lot of different directions going forward. So I think that'll make for some interesting off seasons for these three teams, and we're gonna go through each team one by one. Before I get started, just some formalities. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for people watching live. To anybody that might watch this on replay after the fact, make sure you, you have the same opportunity to support the content. So make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. So with that out of the way, as I already mentioned, we're doing this one, which I named Starting from the Ground Up earlier, but I think I found a better name. We're going to start with the Raiders. This is Tennessee. Where is Las Vegas? Should be here. Okay, here we go. This is Las Vegas. So these are the Vegas Raiders. For anybody who may have not been watching this series, this website, the way it works is players in green are their free agents. So those are the players that they're losing. The Raiders, not losing any starters on offense, losing 5 starters on defense. If we look at what this team is, where are they? Las Vegas Raiders, the 31st ranked offense by EPA. And the tab does not want to cooperate. No, here we go. And defensively, the 18th ranked EPA in the NFL. So average defense, horrible offense. That's what this team was. They're bringing back their horrible offense, so that's not the best. And they're losing pieces from their average defense. So in terms of what they're bringing with them next year, not bringing a whole lot. Again, this is why this team is categorized in this group as a team that's starting from the ground up, that really has an opportunity to build on a clean slate, or start with a clean slate. So to get into the financial side of things, the Raiders are the second last in the NFL in terms of guaranteed money on their books. And obviously they have a very interesting ownership group with, what's his name? Mark Davis and Tom Brady. So thing is, I think it's an ambitious ownership group, and it's an ownership group that is going to be able to spend because that Vegas stadium generates a lot of money. So that being said, again, like I said, they're not carrying a whole lot with them from last year. That's great. They have a lot of money to spend. Let's go. This is a clean slate. You can see why there's maybe some excitement with a veteran coaching staff and Pete Carroll, Tom Brady kind of calling the shots behind the scenes, and a bit of a clean slate, because they can really go any which direction from here. They could, try their best to be good immediately. They could try to go young. We're going to see what their approach is, but they can go any way because they're not restricted one way or another. To take stock of what they're bringing back, Kuntz is a good player, so they're missing a good edge player. Tyree Wilson, not the best. Max Crosby, elite. So they're bringing back basically one edge rusher. They're going to need to bring somebody off the edge. Christian Wilkins, phenomenal. Jonah Laulu, I don't know if that's a starting caliber player. So again, they're going to need a defensive tackle as well. And then what are all their linebackers? Yeah, so their top 3 linebackers, all some kind of free agents. Luke Masterson I think that's an exclusive rights free agent, so he'll probably be back, but losing quite a bit there. And then in the secondary, losing all the starters except Jack Jones and Jacorian Bennett. So yeah, this team is going to need a whole lot defensively. Everything that they're I guess you could say some of the pieces that are the reason that they were the 18th ranked defense by EPA, they're going to be missing them. So again, starting from ground zero. Offensively, what do they have? They have no quarterback, right? You have Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, 2 backups, really. Desmond Ridder, they didn't tender as a restricted free agent, so he's going to be a free agent. At the running back spot, missing Amir Abdullah and Alex Madison. Zamir White, I guess he could probably be like a good backup, change of pace for somebody else. But yeah, I mean, I don't love the receiving targets. It's really just Bowers and Zamir White when it comes to their weapons. At the offensive, when it comes to the offensive line, I think they could probably use a couple starters, upgrade at center. Um, I could see them, and then probably a upgrade here at right guard. I could see them giving this third round pick DJ Glaze, which is just a hilarious last name in 2025, by the way. I could see them giving him another opportunity. But yeah, this team needs quite a bit. In terms of what I would do, I would go for a stopgap quarterback because I think the Raiders have the patience uh, to go get a quarterback next year. My thing about all the teams that need quarterbacks this year is that how long can you afford to wait? And I think the Raiders can afford to not get a franchise quarterback this year. They have an entire regime that's in year one. They have newly an owner that like Brady has his hands on things, immediately. Like right now, it's starting now. So it's not like there's been years of build up and now there's pressure to succeed. He can take his time. Um, yeah, I think the Raiders should honestly. I think this is a great Russell Wilson spot because of the history he has with Bevel and actually no, they don't have Bevel. They have Chip Kelly. Why am I tripping? Oh, that's wild. That's super wild. I totally internalized the Daryl Bevel rumors. But yeah, you got Chip. Um, actually, you know what? That maybe makes me second think. Maybe they should go for Justin Fields. I think you should always give Chip Kelly a rushing quarterback. But yeah, I think they should go for that kind of a player, a Russell Wilson or a Justin Fields, somebody you can give the job to. And if miraculously there's some crazy year that they have, sure, you hit on that upside. But other than that, go get somebody who just does the job, um, and be positioned to get a quarterback next year. This is not the time right now, not the time at all. So that's my approach to the quarterback position. When it comes to the weapons, because you don't have much laid in terms of like, having an offense down, having a quarterback, having a system set, I wouldn't go crazy for weapons. Like I would not be in free agency spending big money. Draft a running back, draft a couple of receivers, maybe make some some smart signings, maybe some mid-tier free agents, but don't push things too far. Like don't make it a point to be aggressive to spend, probably overpay on somebody, and then realize because you don't have a quarterback, you're not necessarily going to be even getting value for the money you spent. I think they should focus on, like I said, draft picks, mid-tier free agents, get a quarterback with some upside, but really somebody who just is a stopgap until next year. Sort out the offensive line. That's always where I'm going to start. If they're going to spend big money somewhere or high draft picks somewhere on the offense, let it be the offensive line. And specifically in their case, it would be a guard. I don't know if you can take a guard at 6, but if you trade back, that would be a great opportunity. And then when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, again, you're kind of a blank slate. I wouldn't press too hard for pieces in the secondary. First things first, I'm addressing the trenches. So you got Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby, and that's awesome. But they could use some help. And because they're both big money players, that help would have to come in the form of draft picks. And fortunately for them, this is a great year to have to draft defensive linemen. So if we're talking about the top of the draft for Vegas, give me defensive linemen or offensive linemen. I think just generally that's my hope for their offseason is that they focus on those two position groups, given that they have such a clean slate. Go for value in the secondary and at the linebacker spot. Go for value at the receiver and running back spots. But really try to hit home runs in the trenches. That's definitely what my approach would be. If you bring in a Justin Fields or a Russell Wilson, you'll hopefully get at least just an NFL standard quarterback or production of an NFL standard quarterback to just run your offense. Don't really hold the offense back as a whole, and then get your quarterback next year. So those are my thoughts on the Raiders. That's how I think they should approach their offseason with the clean slate that they have. We are going to pivot from the Raiders to the New York Jets. The New York Jets, fascinating situation for a few different reasons, but yeah, look at all this green here. Yes, they are gang green. Yes, this is the New York Jets, but man, look at all these free agents on the defensive side of the ball. They're bringing back 4 starters. They're bringing back 4 good starters, but they're bringing back 4 starters. On the offensive side of the ball, right? Maybe you don't see that much green when you look at it, but Devontae is as good as gone. Aaron Rodgers is as good as gone. So if you think about it that way, they're missing 5 offensive starters. So you're talking about a team that is absolutely getting gashed. The roster turnover is going to be serious. And when I talk about the Raiders having a blank slate and the opportunity to start from the ground up, I'm talking about them not having much and having quite a bit of money to spend. In the Jets case, they can't. They have no choice but to bring in a bunch of new starters because all these guys are leaving. In terms of what they're losing, the Jets had the 17th ranked offense by EPA, so middle of the pack, and then the Jets had the 21st ranked defense by EPA. And I think something to factor with the defense is that it was okay with Robert Saleh, and then it was bad with Jeff Ulbrich. So this you're probably looking at an average defense on paper and an average offense on paper if Robert Saleh doesn't get fired. So you're looking at just generally an average football team last year. And if you look at the guaranteed money figures, they are, a little bit below average, but very much so in the middle of the pack in terms of finances. Their big issue is that they're just losing a ton of players. So it's kind of concerning that they have all that guaranteed money on the books, considering how many players they're going to be losing. The Jets, in year 1 of Aaron Glenn's tenure in New York, I think they kind of have to have a reserved offseason. I don't think that. I mean, it's hard to distinguish. Like when you think about the Lions, what part of it is Dan Campbell? What part of it is Aaron Glenn? If you think about how the Lions rebuild started, they really stripped they stripped the roster to the ground, and were just bad for about a year and a half. But they were building in terms of developing young players, establishing a culture. I think that kind of year for the Jets would be in order. I just don't know that because Aaron Glenn was around for that, if he would want to like do the same thing here, but that's what I would do. Yeah, like you look at the state of the quarterback spot, they have Tyrod Taylor and Jordan Travis. I wouldn't really press it with a quarterback, like maybe draft a quarterback mid-round, sign a vet. Again, go for the kind of quarterback that I was recommending the Raiders go after, a Fields, a Russell Wilson, or maybe a Kirk Cousins if he becomes available. Somebody who's not going to cost an arm and a leg, somebody who you can have just be an NFL standard quarterback, not get in the way of you running your offense, and not really stop you from going to get somebody serious next offseason. And especially if they take my approach of, again, having a reserved offseason, trying to bring in as much young talent as they can, bringing in solid vets, nobody like crazy, and just establishing a culture, they're probably not going to have the best record next year, which would position them nicely to draft a quarterback. But yeah, that's the kind of offseason I would go for for this Jets team. And when it comes to the exact moves that they would be looking to make, you're talking about them not having any defensive tackles outside of Quinnen Williams, and on the edge rushing spots, they would still have Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, so they'd at least have 2 starters that they could play. But yeah, they need a defensive tackle in the worst way. They probably need a linebacker. I can see them getting rid of CJ Mosley, and then they need an entire secondary. So this is the thing. Like, there is no such thing as replacing all these players. So again, I'm going value. I'm probably repeated this over and over again. Oh, I see everybody in the chat. My bad. I haven't been looking at the chat. Salute, Jolly Mama. Big up Karaz and they're trying to win. Damn, bro. I can't believe they won. I was pissed. Just need defense and a running back. Nah, man, they have Breece Hall. They're okay at running back. They need a defense for sure, though. And then obviously they need a quarterback and a wide receiver. Honestly, running back might be one of the only places they're good with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. But yeah, like for them, I'm going defensive tackle early. Safety, like cornerback and safety, we're just going to have to get that how it comes, like mid-round picks, middle of the way free agents. And then offensively, like I said, stopgap quarterback. Make sure you get as many offensive linemen as you can. I think they can say that they're comfortable with Tipman, AVT, and Olufashanu, but they could still use two more starters. So you can go offensive line high as well. It's a good tight end draft, so get a tight end in the draft. As for the receiver position, you could use one more receiver. But you know what? Like I said, teams that are like this that aren't gonna be great. I don't think there's really value in like spending big money or a high draft pick on a receiver. So draft somebody middle rounds, draft somebody or sign somebody like a a mid-level free agent. But in terms of the big resources, offensive line, defensive line, very similar outlook to the Raiders. I think the teams that are taking this patient approach to roster building, that are starting from the ground up, hammer the trenches, go for value everywhere else, establish a culture, be a physical team first, and then fill in the roster as you need going forward. But yeah, don't swing for a quarterback too aggressively. I don't think they're in a great spot in the draft to get one. I don't love any of the quarterbacks really. So if you want to take one in round 2, round 3, be my guest. But don't take one in round 1. And then obviously don't spend big money for Sam Darnold, although that's not even an option for this franchise. But yeah, man, there's going to be a lot of turnover, a lot of new players. I just, again, think they shouldn't do the Jets thing and just throw money stupidly. Be calculated, be smart. And yeah, like have the year 1 Dan Campbell year with Aaron Glenn and then go from there after that. So that's one. That's the Jets out of the way. The last team we'll be looking at is the Tennessee Titans. So again, they fall in this group of teams that I think have a clean slate, but it's pretty different for this team because they're year 2 of the coaching regime, like the coaching staff. They're year 1 of the exec, Mike Borgonzi, which is a weird spot to be in because I don't know if there's going to be a tug of war of like, oh, who's like, does the coach like the player? But then the GM just got here and he's like, these aren't my players. It's kind of a weird spot from that standpoint. But in terms of what the Titans are bringing with them, the 30th ranked offense, which definitely a big part of that is going to be quarterback play, and then the 20th ranked defense. So below average defense. Who is they? Jets or Titans? You're talking about a horrible offense, mainly because of the quarterback, and then a below average defense. And for what it's worth, I think if they had NFL standard quarterback play, they would probably be around 20 offensively. So they would be just a below average team. And then the Titans, they've handed out some big contracts, but part of the reason they did that is because they really didn't have much guaranteed money on the books last summer. Still the lower end of the league in terms of guaranteed money. I think they're the 10th. Let me do a quick count. Yes, so they're the 10th lowest team in the NFL in terms of guaranteed money. So there is some spending power. Definitely some spending power. But yeah, in terms of like what they're a below average team that they're missing some players here. You're missing Radins, who I think is okay. Tyler Boyd didn't do much. Nick Westbrook-Akeen got so many touchdowns randomly. Sebastian Joseph Day, solid defensive tackle, but with Sweat and Simmons, they're really good at that part of the field as is. And then Quandre Diggs, a good veteran, but an aging safety as is. So they're not losing much, but again, they weren't particularly good. That being said, though, the reason why I say that they're in a kind of a clean slate situation is because the GM is new. So while we might think that, they have Harold Landry on the edge, that's not a Borgonzi guy. I mean, nobody here is a Borgonzi guy. So really, like, you don't know. Like, I don't know. He might not love Jeffrey Simmons for some reason. I mean, I would be hard pressed to know why that would be the case, but it's possible that he's not like a Calvin Ridley guy. So we don't really know what direction this roster is going to go in. In terms of what they have, they literally only have Calvin Ridley, who is a 30-year-old receiver now. Their offensive line, not good enough. I like Chigokonkwo, so they have one tight end and one receiver. At the running back spot, they have I think it's not a balanced backfield. Pollard and Tajay Spears, neither of them are bad, but there's still there's a certain kind of running back skill set that's missing there. So they need to add to the committee this offseason. But yeah, you got to add to the running back committee. You got to add probably 2 receivers. You have to add a couple offensive linemen. Obviously you need to add a quarterback, because the only quarterback they have under contract is Will Levis, who is not a Borgonzi guy. And if you can just read between the lines, even just a little bit, he's definitely not a what's the coach's name? Callahan guy either. Callahan hated this guy. So clean slate at quarterback, but like I said, they have a lot to do offensively, and then defensively. Like I said, I really like Sweat and Simmons. Landry and Arden Key, they could probably upgrade Arden Key. At the linebacker spot, Kenneth Murray's okay. Gibbons, I don't know anything about. I imagine he's also only okay. They could probably use an upgrade there. In the secondary, Roger McCreary, my understanding is he's pretty solid. L'Jarius Sneed is L'Jarius Sneed. I don't think he had a great year. I don't think he had a great year last year, but they have a different system now. Actually, no, they don't have a different system. They still have Bernard Wilson, I think. But yeah, we'll see how he bounces back this year. At safety, they've had Amani Hooker for a long time. He's a solid player, so they just have to replace Quandre Diggs. They signed Chidobe Awuzie last year. They're probably going to play him again just because of his contract. But I don't think he had a good year either. But yeah, defensively, they have less needs. And if you're looking for guys like safeties and linebackers, those aren't huge needs. You probably could upgrade Arden Key, but it's not a huge must. They could probably just draft somebody to give him some competition. You're really just looking mainly at having to get there's really not a huge need defensively. You just got to hope that guys like Tavondre Sweat get better. Who else is it? I mean, you got to hope L'Jarius Sneed plays up to his name and his contract. But yeah, offensively, that's where I think the bulk of the needs are. They need to fix that side of the ball for sure. And in terms of what I would do, like I said, I would add to the committee at the running back spot, but that would be round 3 earliest, probably round 4 though. In terms of the offensive line, yeah, they could use a big investment there. With where they're picking in the draft, they're probably going to take Abdul Carter. That's my guess. My guess is that they sit there at number 1 overall and take Abdul Carter. But if they were to trade down, perhaps you could go offensive line. You have a lot more assets, and then you can build from there. But yeah, if you factor in Abdul Carter at number 1, I'm going offense for the rest of the draft. So probably I'm assuming they get a quarterback in free agency. By the way, I think this is a big Sam Darnold spot, because I think he kind of fits what the coach is looking for. If you think about him coming from Cincinnati and having a Joe Burrow. So just having a processor who gets through his progressions and gets the ball out. Somebody from that, somebody who excelled doing that kind of a thing for KOC last year. Yeah, I could see them going to get Sam Darnold, Abdul Carter 1 overall. And then after that, I'm going probably offensive line and receiver, round 2, round 3. Definitely got to upgrade. You realistically you're rolling with Calvin Ridley as your wide receiver 1, but I'm looking for a wide receiver 2, a major upgrade, and then maybe taking a flyer on a wide receiver 3. So yeah, that would be my direction for the Titans. Abdul Carter number 1, Sam Darnold in free agency, and offensive line, receiver rounds 2 and rounds 3. When it comes to how I would spend their free agency money, offensive line. And then probably linebacker and safety, not huge free agents. But yeah, offensive line, I would want that to be really good. I think they have the coach's dad is the offensive line coach, Bill Callahan, and he's a legendary offensive line coach. So the thing is when you have a legendary position coach, I don't think that you use that to give them average players and hope they turn them into good players. No, give them great players and get the coaches to make them elite players. So you have Skoronski at left guard. That's great. Lloyd Cushenberry at center. I don't know how he played, but he's supposed to be solid. J.C. Latham at left tackle. So it's the right side of the offensive line. I would be looking to make meaningful additions to that side of the ball. And that's how I would approach the offseason. So I'm just going to respond to some questions in the chat, and then we'll wrap this stream up. Sai says, who do you think the Jets pick with the first pick? So at 7th overall, okay, if we're just going to run off a quick mock draft, I think Abdul Carter, the 2 quarterbacks, and Travis Hunter go top 4. I think Mason Graham goes 5. And then I think Teteroa McMillan goes 6. That leaves the Jets with a lot of options. They can't go Genty. I don't think there's another receiver there to take, really. Maybe, you know what? Let's give the Jets an offensive lineman. Let's give them Will Campbell at that spot. Sai says Shedeur Sanders. I think if he was there, they would take Shedeur, but I don't think he's going to be there. Chris Godwin. Yeah, I mean, he would be a decent name. He honestly would be a decent candidate for any of the 3 teams. For Titans, I will go Shedeur Sanders and Chris Godwin at receiver. Yeah, Shedeur Sanders for the Titans, that's definitely respectable. If you think about the fact that the coach comes from Cincinnati and he had Joe Burrow, Shedeur Sanders is like the right kind of quarterback. We're definitely the right kind of quarterback for that system. And Godwin, they would have pretty old receivers at that point, but you know what? They need somebody. So, yeah, I agree. I'm going to wrap the stream up here, people. Shout out to everybody that tapped in. Big up to the 10 people that dropped by. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to end this stream, and we're going to go right from this stream to the final off-season preview series stream of the year, where we saved the best for last. This is going to be a solo stream. There's not going to be multiple teams. It's going to be one team. It's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to look at how Howie Roseman and the Eagles can stay on the throne. So I'm going to end the stream here, people. I dropped a link in the chat. This will take you to the next stream that I'm going to be starting up in 2-3 minutes. So I'm going to close it out here. Make sure you hit the like button here, then click this link. Hit the like button there and tune in, because, yeah, we're going to close out the offseason preview series. 32 teams in less than a month. It's been a hell of a ride, but yeah, it ends here. Off season, here we come. But yeah, I'll catch you guys around. Like I said, click this link. I'm going to start the live in 2-3 minutes. I'll see you guys there. Take care.